So welcome everyone to our film and TV production equipment panel. My name is Danielle and I'm the undergraduate counselor here for Dodge College, and I'll be your moderator this evening. We do also have staff prepared to answer your questions in the chat, so please feel free to start submitting your questions in the Q&A section. If you do have a question that you see someone else has asked that you also want that answered, please feel free to put a like on it. Once we go through our presentation, we will get around to those questions as well. So thank you so much for being here, and I'll go ahead and let our panel members introduce themselves. I do want to tell you guys that these are our tech wizards that you are meeting today. So go ahead, Dave and Zach, when you're ready.
I feel like I should put on a wizard hat for this.
Right.
Well, hey everyone, my name is Dave Goodhart. I am the TV studio engineer here at Chapman University. I'm responsible for our entire television production pipeline, which includes live sports, plus some narrative television, a little bit of documentary as well. My background before I was working here, I was a freelancer. So I've done work for ESPN, Fox Sports. I've also done a lot of news stuff for Fox affiliates, as well as PBS, as well as a bunch of stadium stuff as well. I've worn a lot of hats in this industry, and that's why I love being here to teach all the technology to all the students who come through.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And Zach, go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Zach Berg. I'm the production equipment coordinator. I'll kind of get more in depth on what exactly I do here during my presentation, but essentially you can think of me as someone who oversees all of the equipment that gets checked out by our equipment facility. Much like Dave, I spent time freelancing in the industry, working on a lot of different sets, working on, wearing a lot of different hats. Yeah, and I just enjoy being able to share that wealth of knowledge that I've gathered over the years with the students who come through here, and then also help them figure out how to use our equipment before they take it out on major productions.
Yeah.
Thank you so
And
much.
one of the things I always like to clarify with students, because between high school and college, there's this unique split that happens amongst the people teaching you, where you have professors and staff. We're not professors, we're staff. So the faculty here are really, really great at the creative process. We have well-renowned professors with decades of experience who are really good at teaching the creative. Zach and I and all the other staff here are here to teach you the tools. We're the nuts and bolts kind of people. When you get something and it's not working, you come to one of us and say, hey, this no worky, this brokey, and we help you fix that, as well as teach you the right way to do stuff. So I'll go ahead and go first talking about my area. So I organize the TV control room. It's one of the 7 sound stages we have here. And I'm a visual guy. I'd much rather show you than talk about it. So about an hour ago, I recorded a whole walkthrough going through all the stuff that I manage. So I'm going to flip over to that video, and I will let Dave from 2 hours ago show you around. Welcome to the grand hallway here at Marionette Studios. There are 4 sound stages here in this building. They all connect to this large hallway, so we can easily move in props and set pieces as needed. Behind me is Stage B. Stage B is the largest of our 4 sound stages. Now, there are a total of 7 sound stages here at Marionette Studios. The other 3 are over in our 2 other buildings. That's right. We are such a large program that Dodge College has expanded over 3 different buildings, and I hope you get a tour sometime here physically to check out all of them. For today, I'm going to run you guys through the TV stage. The TV stage is my favorite of the sound stages because the most camera technology and lighting technology that we use for live productions. Now, when it comes to the TV stage, there's 3 different big types of productions that we do. We do broadcast news, we do dramas, and we also do talk shows. Today is Tuesday, so today was newscast day. Here is our lovely Chapman news set that we absolutely love. We do a live newscast every single Tuesday out of here. We are Orange County's highest rated newscast because we're the only newscast here in Orange County. In fact, most of our news comes from LA. This is an amazing opportunity for you as a Chapman student because we have unfettered access to a lot of politicians, a lot of celebrities, and a lot of great theme parks here that love catering to us to allow our students to do really good content. Behind me is the newscast set. This is made by John Gillis, who is a professional set designer in LA. You have seen his work on America's Got Talent and Whose Line Is It Anyways? He custom made this set for us. Our studio cameras are right here, our Sony HDC 3500 cameras. We are very proud of these cameras. They are industry standard. When you were watching the Olympics this summer, they were done on this cameras or cameras very similar to them. Now, they're a full studio camera build. They're meant for an operator on the back. They do a lot of great things. Believe it or not, they don't record. As big as this thing is, There's no record button. It makes a very nice picture and sends it off into the other room. In the front of the camera, we have a Fujinon lens. This is a 4K lens that can do wide angles as well as tight for a lot of versatility. You're going to hear me talk a lot about versatility on this tour. When it comes to an environment like this, we got to regularly switch everything out to do all the different types of production. Your operator for studio camera is in the back. They have all sorts of lovely controls. They always have zoom on the right and focus on the left, as well as a script and a rundown so they can take notes and remember all things going on. They also get to wear a headset. Communication is really, really important in the TV stage, as well as for all live productions. You know what's going on. These cameras live on these great Vinton pedestals, so we can easily move them up, down, and all around the stage to get whatever shot the director wants us to get. Behind me is our newscast desk. This is where the anchors are going to be during a production. We have 4 positions, 2 lead anchors in the middle, and then special anchors on the wings. Each anchor position has a monitor built in the desk so they can see program. So one of the ways that they know what's going on. Also, every anchor has an IFB. That's a little earpiece like I'm wearing here. That's so they can hear the producer, they can hear the director, they can also hear each other, and they can also hear our reporters out on location. We have 2 live view systems that students use to go anywhere in the United States and send live shots back to us just like they do in the real world. Also part of our set is this lovely green screen that is behind camera 3. We use that green screen for weather. We also do some virtual set and some disguise stuff on it as well. Let's also talk about lighting. There's a great lighting grid above me. All of our lights are LED, and we have a lot of them in here because of the 3 different types of shows we do here. We also have 3 different sets. Everything that you just saw is on wheels for us to easily roll in and out. Our lighting board is here in the corner. It's an Element 2. We have got a lot of things programmed in, including this lovely touchscreen up above where you can literally tap a light and choose the color you want it to be as well as the brightness. That's the TV stage. That's where your actors and your cameras are. Now during a live production, it does need to be pretty quiet in here because we are recording sound. There's a lot of people who need to talk during a live production, such as your producer and your director. They are all next door in our TV control room, which I'm going to show you next. Our TV control room is a broadcast quality, high definition control room. It's made to replicate the real world, as well as be a good training opportunity for you guys to learn how all this gear works and actually use it in your classes. Our TV control room has a bunch of big monitors on the front so we can see all of our sources, all of our content, and a lot of seats for all the positions. There's a lot of people that are needed behind the scenes to do a live production at the caliber that we are doing. Each seat has its own unique task. We're going to start over here with the first seat. This is our audio position. For microphones here, we're using a Shure Axient system. We got these lovely wireless lavs that sound fantastic. We have a total of 8 of them that we can use. They're fully digital, so we don't have to deal with interference issues. They always sound great and clear. Next to it is our audio board. This is a Calrac Brio 36. Calrac might not be a brand you are used to. They are very common in broadcast productions. In fact, every Super Bowl you have ever heard was mixed on a Calrac. This is the small version. They use the bigger ones. But the skills transfer over. That's a very big, important part of what we teach here. We want to make sure you guys are learning things that are applicable in the real world. So the things you learn here also work on the big boards you're going to see out in productions. Next to the audio person is our director. Our director is the one calling the shots. They have this lovely multi-viewer monitor in front of them so you can see all of our cameras, all 4 of those Sony cameras that we just saw, plus a few extra POV cameras. They also have a computer in front of them because for a live newscast, stories are changing while we're on the air. So we're going to re-edit scripts. We might add stories while we are already starting. And the director needs to see everything in order to make that show happen. Next to them is our video switcher. We have a Ross Video Ultrix Carbonite. This is a 3ME Carbonite, meaning we have basically 3 switchers in one to pull off all the horsepower and the high-end video effects that we need to do, including double box, replay wipes, special effects wipes, and a lot. These boards are very common for you to see in industry, especially in sports venues, where a lot of our students actually go to when they graduate as that first job out of Chapman. Next to them is our playback production person. They are recording and playing stuff back. We're using a Tria for that. It is an 8-channel Tria, so we can record all 4 of our studio cameras, plus we can play back 4 different videos all at the same time. Everything that's recorded goes immediately onto our Nexus, which is our huge central storage system here at Chapman, and it's instantly available for anyone to edit and re-edit as we go. That's the front row. In the back row, we have our graphics position. We're using Ross Video Expression here at Chapman. It's a 4-channel system, so we can play back 4 different videos at the same time. This system is great. You're going to find this in a lot of production trucks and high-end facilities, and it's here for you to play with all the time. Next to graphics, we also have our 2 producer stations. When we're doing a newscast, we have the producer for what's happening here on the show. We also have another producer to handle everyone out on location. Our students are able to check out live views. It's the little live packs they can use out on location to use anywhere in the United States and send live footage back to us. This person's coordinating with them so they make their hits at the right time. That's the TV control room. Now, I would be remiss if I did not end a tour talking about my favorite part of Chapman. That's CSBN, our Chapman Sports Broadcast Network. Chapman is a very unique school. We are the 4th best film school in the nation, and we are a Division III school athletically, which means our football games are not that big. That's your advantage. CSBN or ESPN, CBS, Pac-12 Network, they're never here. There is no national coverage for our games, which means you get to do it. We use this control room plus 8 cameras to tell the stories that happen during our football games. They are quite large. Our homecoming football game this year had a record-breaking crew of over 50 students working on the broadcast alone. That's available to you as Chapman students. It's a club, so it doesn't matter what major you're in. Also, we need a whole bunch of talents for that. We have camera people, we have graphics people, we have replay people. So it's a great opportunity for you to get your hands dirty, and that's what we really want. There's only so much you can learn by sitting in a classroom, and you will sit in a classroom here. We will teach you the art, but we also want you to have the practical skills to actually do it. With that, I'm going to toss it back to myself about an hour in the future.
Hey, thanks, Dave from the past. So a couple things I did not cover on that. Intercom, we do have a very large intercom system so everyone can communicate. And you can talk to each position individually. Something else just to note, if you were a little overwhelmed by all that and you're like, oh, it's a lot of stuff, relax. We teach an intro to TV class where you're going to learn every single one of those positions from the ground up, as well as we do one-on-one trainings as you guys need it. That's one of the big advantages that we do get, which is nice about Chapman having smaller class sizes. So we can give you guys some individual attention and actually go through that stuff. And we've had a lot of students graduate, go on to do great things. I do want to thank Ben Sherman, who is a senior here at Chapman. He actually recorded that video for me about an hour ago. Ben is part of our CSBN program, and he's already working professionally for the PGA Golf Tour. So he is regularly having to fly to various parts of the United States to do golf while the Chapman student, and that's based on the experience he got here. So that's the live side of production when you're doing a camera plugged in. The other part of a camera that you're going to do a lot of is out on location. And for all that out on location stuff, you're going to go to a place called the Gold Room, managed by my good friend, Zach.
Hi. Well, thanks, David. I appreciate you doing that transition for me. I'm going to share my screen real quick. I unfortunately did not have time to create such a wonderful video like David did, but I do have this wonderful slideshow that I'm going to walk us through so you get a better idea of what the Gold Room is. Because you probably hear that term and you go, Gold Room, what is that? Let's see if I can switch here. All right, so I'm going to start by introducing myself. Again, I'm Zach Berg. I'm the production equipment coordinator. One thing I kind of wanted to point out is that both Dave and I and other staff members here at Dodge are in fact alumni. I was a graduate of the class of 2013, and then a few years ago, I came back here to start working as a staff member. So not only did I enjoy my experience here as a student, but I've also enjoyed my time here as an employee. Basically, my responsibility is to maintain, purchase, repair, check out all equipment that goes out to the numerous productions we have, not just film production, but broadcast journalism, documentary, TV, Chapman News. We have a wide inventory of equipment, and that's what I'm about to sort of walk you through. So what is the Gold Room? It is Dodge's equipment checkout center. We contain, again, a variety of resources for all forms of production. We are not only a film production school, as Dave has pointed out, We support, again, broadcast journalism, public relations and advertising, TV, and even clubs such as CSBN. Our inventory covers pretty much every type of equipment you could think of, covering cameras, audio equipment, grip, electric, things for digital arts, virtual production, and on and on. Our facility is run by 2 full-time staff members, one of which is myself. There's another staff member. And then we have a team of 24 student workers. So it's another thing to keep in mind is that if you become a student here at Dodge, there is actually an opportunity to come and work in our equipment facility. It's a great opportunity for students to get their hands on the equipment, to get direct experience with it. You'll spend time with me working on repairing it. You'll work with my coworker to pull the equipment, check it out. You'd work with other students and get experience on sort of a customer service style role within the film industry. So our inventory contains over 10,500 individually barcoded items. So keep in mind, we have to track all of those items. That total value approximately comes out to $5,780,000. And then to give you an idea of our volume, in just the fall semester alone, there were 98 equipment checkouts for film production. So that does not include anything from any of the disciplines, just film production. So this is, I think, probably the most exciting category for most people, which is our flagship cameras. These cameras, most students have access through their thesis production projects. These include the Sony Venice 2. I think that is one of the top cameras in the industry right now. Tons of movies have been filmed on this camera. Then you have the Red V-Raptor, again, another popular camera throughout the industry for making feature films currently. We have 2 of the Venice and we have 5 of the V-Raptors. And then we also have 1 ARRI Alexa in-house as well. Again, for some of you, you may have heard of these brands before. They're all sort of industry standard brands for film production cameras. Then we also have a fleet of the Red Komodo camera. Those are our advanced production cameras. And we also have the Sony FX6 camera. Those are sort of our intermediate cameras. And if you're in the film production program, you sort of walk up the steps of these cameras. So you would start with that intermediate camera. Then your next year, you would be on the Red Komodo for your advanced camera. And then finally, you'd hit that thesis camera for your thesis project. And now that's not to say you would not get experience with these cameras outside of that. Many students from freshmen upwards work on thesis films. So you'll get a lot of experience directly with thesis cameras from the first set that you get on. We have a wide variety of other cameras as well. I think if I tried to list everything we had in our inventory, we'd be here all day. So I wanted to point out a couple other ones. A lot of these are used by the documentary broadcast journalism programs. We have the Canon C300. We have the Panasonic CX350. We have Sony A7S cameras, as well as Sony X70 cameras. And then we also have the Canon XC15. And we have sort of fleets of each of those. Because again, we have many, many checkouts every week. But again, we are not limited to just cameras. We have grip and electric equipment. A large portion of our lighting is now LED lighting. However, we do still have the ARRI M18 HMI lights. We have a wide variety of stands, as you can sort of see in this photo, that we provide to student productions, along with other grip accessories such as clamps. We have sandbags for supporting the stands. We have flags for diffusing the light. We like to say we sort of have a little bit of everything that a student might need to go out and shoot any sort of project. Another highlight, and very unique to Chapman University, is our sort of inventory of dollies. We have 2 different types of Fisher dolly. These dollies cannot be purchased. They can only be leased through JL Fisher. These, along with Chapman Leonard, are 2 of the biggest dolly brands sort of in the film industry and sort of the gold standard of this type of dolly. And we are lucky enough to have 6 of them in total. We also have doorway dollies, we have skateboard dollies, and then we also have camera sliders such as the Dana dolly. So again, we have a ton of support accessories, not just incredible high-level cameras. There's also plenty of accessories to make sure that you can pull off any sort of shot that you're attempting. We also have a wide variety of sound items. I've listed quite a few of the brands here. We have sound devices. Specifically, we have the 664 and 688. Those are industry standard sound mixing devices. We also have the Zoom recorders. We have lavalier mics from Sanken and Lectrosonic, and a wide variety of them. And then we also have plenty of microphones from Audio-Technica. And honestly, that is sort of a large overview of everything we have in the Gold Room. I know I kind of threw it all at you very quickly, but I figured I would like to get to the questions as soon as possible because I think you'll have a lot of them. But yeah.
Thank you so much, Zach. You want to stop sharing your
Yep.
screen?
Do that right now.
Thank you,
There you
gentlemen. Thank you so much. That was amazing. This is actually our first info session that includes both of these. So we really appreciate you being here. That being said, we do have a lot of questions. So I'll go ahead and start. A question that we get a lot is, when can students gain access to this equipment? Are we the type of school that, you know, doesn't allow students to get their hands on cameras until their sophomore or junior year? Or can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I can answer from sort of the Gold Room perspective, which is going to be a large majority of your classes. It's sort of a two-stage answer, but the first part of that is you're going to get a camera put in your hand pretty much from day one. Every sort of class has some form of production attached to it, has assignments where they're going to say, hey, you need to go to the Gold Room and check out a A7S camera, for example, to do your cinematography 1 project. Like I mentioned before, that intermediate project, a lot of students will do that their sophomore year. They'll get the first sort of very large package that year. But freshman year, from day one, there's all sorts of smaller projects that happen where you will get equipment.
Yeah, and on the TV side, I mentioned the intro to TV class. You can take that as a freshman. There's no prerequisites, so you can take that pretty much at any time and run you through it. Also for the sports broadcasting club, it's open to anyone in any year, because we always get students who did a lot of this stuff in high school or already had a part-time job before coming in, and we can definitely grow upon the skills you already have.
Yeah. And I actually just I realize I should add on to that, which is, you know, not only do you get equipment from us day one, but as soon as productions start at the beginning of the fall semester, as a freshman, you can get onto those productions. They're always looking for help. You can be, you know, a production assistant on the camera team, and very quickly you'll be handling lenses, you'll be helping set up cameras, you'll be running slate for the camera department. So you will get your hands on this equipment pretty much from the beginning of your career here.
Yeah, and that's kind of a unique thing about the film industry. I don't think people realize right away. It's a very collaborative environment. Like, you all know names of famous directors. I can name a few, but it's not just them alone. It's not like Steven Spielberg created Jaws on his own. It's teams of people. And Chapman's really good at honing in on that and having a really collaborative environment. So when you're coming in as a freshman, there's lots of opportunities for you to get going right away.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Let's see. Can you talk about the benefits of having access to this here at Dodge versus maybe at another school where there isn't this much equipment available?
Yeah, I'm happy to. You know, I think, kind of as I've said before, by exposing yourself to all this equipment, you're going to become very comfortable with it. And that's something that shows up sort of past your time at Dodge. Excuse me. You know, as soon as you step onto a set, a lot of people will be able to identify right away whether or not you're comfortable. And because at your time here, you'll have seen the equipment so much, you'll have interacted with it so much, you're going to appear very comfortable very quickly. And that's always very impressive to people on a film set.
Yeah, as well as
thank you.
As well as this is kind of a creative art form. Like, you need to learn the theory behind it and you need to study it, but you also need to do it. I mean, I could read 1,000 books about playing a guitar. I won't be a good guitarist until I actually sit down and play it. So you got to keep that in mind too, is, you know, we want you guys to use this gear a lot. I mean, the stuff you saw isn't just sitting there on a shelf. It's going out on a very regular basis for students to use, because that's how you're going to develop the skills, is by being hands-on.
Absolutely. And I think that's really what we pride ourselves most on here at Dodge, is really setting you up for success in the industry and making sure that you do get that hands-on experience. So thank you guys. Let's see, I'm gonna go ahead and take a few questions from the chat. First one, which I think is important, is what is the process of checking out equipment? And then also, is there seniority when it comes to priority for checking out equipment?
Yes. So from the Gold Room, there's sort of a couple different processes. The two primary are depending on the type of course you're enrolled in. We have a software system called Web Checkout. There is a large group of classes that just have access to that software system. They get to log into the portal. The system already knows who has permission to check out what item and for how long. That student can log in with their usual Chapman credentials. They can see the catalog, they can select the items they want to use and then submit that request, and then it'll be ready for them to come pick up from our facility through that system. Then on the other side, we have the film production sort of pathway. There is a separate form that we ask film production students to fill out because they are supervised by our production management team. So that process has a lot more supervision with access to a wide variety of equipment. And the seniority comes into how we've already sort of catered the different camera packages to the different levels of production. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Let's see here. This is a question for Dave. This is actually regarding being part of CSBN, I imagine. Do students ever travel to locations outside of California to do broadcast projects or?
For CSBN specifically, no, we only do on-campus stuff. But we do have students have travel opportunities for other reasons. So a student actually got invited to the White House press dinner last year. So they got a scholarship to do that. They flew out, and since they were in DC, they took a camera kit with them and did a couple live shots from there. We also have students, just naturally they're from across the country. So if they are going home somewhere, they oftentimes will take a kit and do a live shot from there because they can. Our documentary program does have travel specific classes that they can take. They go to places like Africa and some really far off destinations. We have a number of travel classes that they can take advantage of. So you're not just shooting things only here in California.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say, and I would be remiss not to point out the Community Voices program as well. That's sort of, it's tied into the documentary program, but they very often travel for the creation of their documentaries.
Thank you so much. I know a lot of students are always asking about study abroad or travel opportunities, and I do just want to alert everyone in this session that you can find travel abroad opportunities all across Chapman, across all programs. It's not just specific to program. There are also other programs that offer study abroad that you don't have to be in that program in order to apply and get into that. So lots and lots of opportunities there. So a question that we get a lot that I just want to bring up because we get asked quite a bit is, since you're a Dodge student and you do have access to this equipment, can it be used for independent projects?
So the sort of short version of a long answer is any checkout from our facility has to be tied to a course. There has to be some class that you're enrolled in and a project assigned by your professor to qualify to check out equipment. That is sort of the basic answer.
Thank you.
And a lot of your classes will have production homework where you're going to go shoot stuff. You saw the statistics from Zach on how many checkouts the Gold Room has. That's all student productions going out. So you'll have a lot of opportunities to make stuff.
Yeah, and there's not going to be a lack of a chance to make things. And there are definitely opportunities to say like, oh, I have this story that I'm super passionate about and I want to make it happen. Well, that might become your thesis film or your AP film or your documentary. So just because you think it's an outside project doesn't mean it has to be.
Very good point. Thank you so much. Question more for Dave here. A student is asking, can I take a news class if I'm a film and television production major?
I believe so is going to be kind of the best answer I can give you.
Or perhaps
Definitely
join Chapman News with that?
Yeah. I was going to say that there's a couple different ways to go about this one. So in the new film and television production major, you do have the opportunity to take that I gotta remember the number now because they just changed them all. It's the 114, the intro to TV class. That's open on the broadcast room side, the doc side, and the film side now. So you can take that class regardless. Also the advanced multicam class where you get to create your own 30-minute show over the course of the class. That is open to both broadcast journalism as well as film production. So there's opportunities to do that. I believe you can actually take broadcast news one as an elective. I'm not quite sure where that fits in, and I'm going to look to my admissions people to either give me a yes or a no on that one. But I've definitely seen people just kind of dabbling in broadcast journalism, taking that class as a way of getting started. Also for CSBN, I'm going to tout this enough. Part of the reason we created this was to give more TV experience to people who are not specifically in the TV program. Because sports television is a very unique animal, a very large animal, requiring a lot of people. And it's very unique. It's kind of an adrenaline rush doing it live, and it's a lot of creative storytelling that you have to do. You know, not quite sure what the game's going to do next. You got to follow it through and just really tell great stories as quickly as possible. And that's open to anyone in any major, even outside of Dodge. I am always amazed. We usually get good replay people who come out of the history department. I don't know why, but they do. So that's open to you guys as well.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. All right, going back to camera equipment. And I know y'all aren't faculty, so that's okay if we don't have a super clear answer on this. But could you talk a little bit about what kind of training students will get on the cameras and equipment?
Yeah, that's actually a great question because something I sort of failed to mention in my presentation is, so not only do we check out equipment from here for students' individual productions, but we also provide equipment to classrooms. Specifically, we have at least one cinematography stage where we provide an entire camera package plus a dolly that the faculty then use to teach on. So you will get in-class experience with these equipment pieces. And they, of course, will follow their curriculum to guide you through the necessary trainings to figure out how to set up the camera, use it, light it, all that fun stuff. That is part of the curriculum.
Yeah, and we also come into classes to do kind of tech workshops. So when you take Broadcast News 1, you get a day of me just running you through how a camera works. For that intro to TV class I keep talking about, there's a lab section, which is actually taught by me. So you get me for 90 minutes a week running you through all this stuff. And we generally teach from the ground up because when it comes to film production, it's an art, and people's technical skills will be at a very different level. Some people will have years of experience coming here. Some of you guys, this is your first time ever in a studio, and we're going to teach to both skill sets. So we always teach from the ground up, especially on the intro classes, assuming you guys know nothing. And if you do know a lot of stuff, we're going to keep continuing to grow and build the skills that you have.
Absolutely. This is a great question for a follow-up for that. If someone isn't in the film production major, but they are hopping onto a project, are they required to go through any trainings or certifications to operate equipment?
So for the film equipment, the short answer is basically no. If you're on a film set, you're going to have access to the equipment. Now, if your production is in one of the stages and they're asking you to do any sort of set building, any sort of set rigging, at that point, you would have to become stage certified, and there is a process for that. But for the film equipment itself, no.
Yeah, safety is a very important thing for us, especially working in our stages. Stages are inherently dangerous places. So you are going to go through a lot of training and certification before you're working in a stage by yourself. And yeah, we will definitely going to show you the right way to do things to make sure you don't injure or hurt yourselves.
Correct.
Thank you so much. This is a fun question. What happens if you check out equipment and it gets lost, broken, stolen, etc.?
Yeah, it's a fun question, right? Unfortunately, it happens. Film production is a complicated process, and you never know what might happen on a set. There are a couple different mechanisms that go into that. If something is simply lost, we communicate with the students, they let us know, we take a look at the total replacement value of that equipment, and we work with them on replacing it. There are times when the university is able to cover the cost, and then we also have our insurance. So that is something you would work with production management on, as far as how damaged did this get, or is it completely lost? Can we save it? They would work with you on that replacement.
Got it. Thank you. And let's see, next question, more about transportation of equipment. So for larger equipment that does require transportation, if they're going outside of Marriott Studios where the Gold Room is located, is there any assistance for students to transport that equipment or any training of how to transport it?
So training, yes. Assistance, that's sort of on the production teams to do. Pretty much every production rents some form of truck, whether they're renting a truck from a equipment rental house or simply a U-Haul. They pretty much have to. I mean, the equipment is big, it's heavy, it can be difficult to transport. As far as the training comes in, that's where, sort of Dave mentioned, we sort of take everyone from the ground up. We try to teach them the best practices, the safest practices. We do workshops. We recently actually did a partnership with a production company. They came down and did a whole demo about how to pack a truck properly. It's also something cinematography professors will cover in classroom time. And then, of course, I'm always happy to give advice to any student production who is currently picking up equipment from us on, hey, Zach, how should I properly put this in my truck? I'm always happy to walk them through that. So that's sort of the long answer of the short question.
Thank you so much. Yes, I always see the students in the parking lot trying to figure out how to Tetris their items into their trucks.
That's a good word for it.
Dave, did you have something to add?
Oh no, I was just gonna say, come here on a Friday and you will see all the production trucks. It's usually somewhere between 5 and 10 different trucks for all the productions going out. And yes, you'll definitely learn how to pack a U-Haul and how to pack all this stuff.
Yep, definitely. Okay, let's see, next question here. I'm gonna reword this question a little bit because I can tell what they're asking. Can you guys speak a little bit about how film production students collaborate with students from other Dodge programs to complete their films and projects?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a great example is actually something we have upcoming. So our years are broken into a fall semester, a winter term, and a spring semester. And we actually have a handful of senior thesis film productions this year who are also jointly working with seniors in the sort of AVE program, or special effects, VFX, virtual production. So they are doing joint senior thesis programs this year. That is one example of how they come together. There's also screenwriters, who produce scripts that can be sort of optioned by the directing students when they're looking to do their AP and thesis films. I know, we're pretty much talking about the undergraduate program, but in the grad program, in fact, they all have to be written by other students. So there's a lot of effort being put into connecting the different disciplines, especially when they don't necessarily normally overlap.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
And I was gonna say that there's also just a lot of hangout spaces here. Like a lot of students just hang out in the building and talk to each other. And I've seen some really cool projects come out of that. We actually had a video game that somebody developed a few years ago because it was a animation student and a film student just talking in the lobby, and it just grew from there. So that's one of the beauties of going to film school, is just hanging out with everyone and sharing ideas.
Absolutely. And to expand on that, we get asked all the time, how do you network? You network with everyone around you at Dodge. Network with your friends, with your roommates, with your, if you have an on-campus job, with your coworkers. It happens all the time, and it allows you to kind of expand the amount of projects that you're doing. And one thing else that I want to add is taking initiative goes a long way here at Dodge. So if any of you are non-film production majors and that's why you're asking this question, you want to make sure that you have the opportunity to get on set. You will have the opportunity to get on set, but if you want to get on more sets, take initiative, ask around, make friends. You can really do as many projects as you have time for. So you'll have lots of opportunity. All right, let's see what else we have going in the chat. Okay, so student is asking can you expand a little bit more about the teaching culture around Dodge? And I think it's specific to, like, what are the expectations of what students should already know technically And what is the culture around teaching those things?
Yeah, I mean, I think the expectation is you don't need to know anything coming in. You know, like Dave said, both for the staff, but also for the faculty, you know, they're going to teach from a ground up perspective. You know, we're going to go over the basics. And now you may not already know the basics, never hurts to hit the fundamentals again. And then we're making sure that all the other students who might not know the basics get on that same page before they go out onto set to get overwhelmed. But there's also very much an attitude, at least in my opinion, of, you know, there's no such thing as a bad question. You know, it's important to seek out information, to ask your fellow students. You know, if you're not sure about something, someone around you is going to know. There's so much knowledge sort of just floating around the building. You know, we have faculty who are very experienced, who have, you know, worked on some major films, who have seen it all basically. And getting that information from them, is not hard. It's a matter of asking. That's pretty much been my experience with it.
Yeah, and we want you guys coming in to have done as much as you can with the resources you have now. So if you're in a high school that has a film production program or TV production program, take advantage of all that. If you don't, you guys are all sitting with a glorious camera in your pocket. That is a great filmmaking tool that trumps anything I used as a Chapman student 20 years ago. So take advantage of that and just start telling great stories, regardless of if you're film or documentary or broadcast journalism. Start now with what you have. And sure, it won't be the most spectacularly gorgeous thing, but there's so many beautiful projects that have been shot on the terriblest cameras because it's the art that matters at the end of the day, not the tools. And don't get caught up in that. A lot of students get stuck on, I must shoot on this camera because it is the best. Well, is it the best?
Right.
I mean, Zach showed you a lot of cameras. Can you name every movie that was shot on those cameras? Probably not. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, it's the art that matters more than tools. And that is weird coming from an engineer like me. I mean, I'm in the process right now. I'm a family guy. It's Christmas photo season, so I'm trying to find a new photographer this year. I have yet to ask him, are they shooting Canon, Nikon, or Sony? I am saying, hey, show me the results that you've done with what you had, and that's how I'm going to judge you on. And that's kind of the way this industry works too, is yeah, you need to know these tools, but ultimately you need to be a really creative storyteller. And a lot of times you're going to get into the industry where you don't have unlimited resources. When you get your first real gig, you have to work within a budget and you got to work into a lot of limitations. And that's where your creativity really, really is going to shine.
Yeah.
And oh, sorry, I just think to add on to that, because everyone has such an opportunity here to touch all the different types of equipment we have, really hammering that idea of like, the camera itself doesn't necessarily matter. It's understanding the camera. It's like, why are you choosing a shot? Why are you placing this device where you're placing it? And again, that's something you can really seek the guidance of your faculty and staff members, you know, again, who have had experience doing it. And then you can also make your own choices after that, you know, gather the knowledge and then say, all right, I'm going to try this other thing. You know, within the context of, you know, obviously being safe, the best piece of advice I ever received at Chapman was very simple. It was fail spectacularly. You know, and I think that should be your guiding principle when you're making films. You know, take risks, try things, again, safely, not dangerous risks, but creative risks. And so then in that, you know, entails, it's just understand the device you're using, but don't be tied to it. Don't be beholden to it. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. And you guys really did a great job of expressing too, you know, what we're looking for in a prospective student. We can teach you the technical stuff all day. You do not need to come in with that. We want to see, are you creative? Are you a storyteller? Is that already within you? That's something we can't teach, but we can teach the technical side. And one word that we use here a lot at Dodge is supportive. So please know that for anyone that is applying and thinking about coming to Dodge, we are an extremely supportive school. We will make sure that if there's something that you need to learn, that we'll find a way to teach that to you and make sure you have that tool in your tool belt. All right, let's see what else we have going on in the chat. Let's see. So Zach, I think you might have mentioned earlier that students will get a kit
Sure.
Could you expand a little bit more on the size of that and what it includes?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to get specific without naming every single different type of package we have. But when I say kit, I typically mean, for example, a camera, you would refer to a camera kit because it's not just the camera body, it's the support rails, the monitor, the mat box, the tripod, all these things are sort of included. And so rather than having to try to list that all out every time, it's like that sort of assume the support accessories are going to be with that sort of, you might call it the prime item, like, oh, the Sony Venice, that's the camera. But of course, then you're going to have an eyepiece and again, a monitor and a mat box and a tripod and, a light meter and a slate board and all this other stuff. So that's what I mean by package. And that applies not just to cameras, but to lighting. If you've got a light, you're going to have a stand and a sandbag to support it. If you have a dolly, you're going to have the dolly device itself, but then you'll also have access to dolly track. So you can set up a specific shot on that track. And it's just a simpler way than listing every single thing we have.
Excellent. Yeah, that makes so much sense to keep everything organized and make sure everyone gets what they need. Thank you so much for that. And another question for Zach. This is actually more of a personal question, Zach. As a Chapman alum, how has Dodge changed since you were a student versus now? And do you anticipate more change in the next few years?
Yes, absolutely. Gosh, that's such a good question. Dodge at its core is the same, but changed in a lot of very beneficial ways. So again, that spirit of, we want you to take risk, we want you to be creative, we want you to express yourself, like those things were the same back then. Obviously, the sort of I don't want to call them superficial things, but like obviously we have different cameras now, we have different devices now, but that spirit is still the same. We've also expanded quite significantly. When I was a student here, back in my day, going uphill in the snow, we only had one floor to the Goldroom facility, and actually I worked here as a student, and now I'm here running it. Now it's 2 floors. So we've expanded physically. We've gone from just the MKS Marion Knott Studios building to also having Chapman Studios West and DMAC. So we've expanded our footprint physically. We've done things like, again, incorporating like the master classes. That's definitely very new for the last couple of years, which is a really exciting opportunity for a lot of students to sort of connect to the real industry, quote unquote, as it were, directly here in Orange rather than having to go to LA all the time. And then of course we're also expanding into the virtual production realm. As the industry moves in that direction, we sort of want to follow. We want to stay as a school on the forefront of whatever the industry is doing, and obviously that is a big part of it. So we're doing a lot right now to sort of adapt our inventory, to add things, to change things, to match that initiative. And I think that's the biggest change we're going to see in the next few years is that virtual production, expansion.
Yeah, a lot of things have changed since I was a student because that was 20 years ago. So I am the old man who remembers before this building existed. But that's something that's kind of kept me here as a staff member is I love how Chapman stays up with industry trends. And oftentimes we'll say we're on the leading edge of technology. I like to instead say we're on the bleeding edge of technology. We're getting stuff very early. Our studio cameras we got before CNN. We oftentimes when we're at trade shows, we get the backroom tours of like, hey, here's the camera that hasn't been announced yet. Just because a lot of manufacturers know we want to give our students the latest stuff and make sure you guys also stay ahead of the curve. A unique challenge in TV is the TV industry tends to do a dramatic change every 3 to 4 years. And we are a 3 to 4 year program. Most of you guys will go through undergrad in 4. So we got to make sure that what we're teaching you freshman year is still valid 4 years from now. And we're very good about doing that and constantly innovating and changing things to make sure you guys are not just at the game, but ahead of the game.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Do either of you gentlemen want to speak on the LED wall at all by chance? We had a couple questions about it. I know we get asked about it on our tours quite a bit because it is kind of a unique thing for our school.
Yeah, so virtual production, I like to use the example of The Mandalorian. If you've ever seen it, everything in the background was not actually there. It was done on a gigantic computer screen because when it comes to The Mandalorian and silver armor that's reflective, there's no way to do that on a green screen because the green would bounce. So how that system works is there's tracking information on the camera, and as the camera moves, it changes your background. And we're using Disguise and Unreal Engine to do that. Our current LED wall is over in Stage D. It just got expanded. I want to say it's 15 feet by 9 feet right now. I think that's still the current numbers. It might be a tiny bit bigger. We're also working on a second one that's going to be in Stage E. That will be a huge curved volume, expected to open next year if everything goes well. Crossing our fingers on that. And that's something our students also play with on their own because a lot of phones can do disguise tracking and Unreal Engine tracking. So we've had a lot of students kind of use it in various ways. We experimented actually a little bit in the TV stage. We have our own smaller system where we're doing the green screen instead of the LED wall. And yeah, we're excited to see kind of what students' imaginations come up with to fill that wall.
Thank you so much. All right, let's see if we have another chat question here. I think this would be for Zach. Zach, I think you touched on this a little bit in your presentation, but
Yeah.
do you have students that you hire for the Gold Room to assist with taking care of all of this equipment and checking it out? And because I believe it would be very difficult for one person to take care of that much equipment.
It would be impossible for one person to do it. Yes, absolutely. Yes, we have an entire staff of student workers. We currently have a pool of 24 students who work for us, and we schedule them on shifts throughout each day, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. We're not open on the weekends. Yes, essentially we do. We have a huge pool of student workers. I think the most of any sort of team here at Dodge. And we are always hiring more students for that. So we tend to be sort of the beginning of the fall, beginning of their term, and then usually some in the spring as well, planning for the future. So we have many hiring rounds as well for that. So that's something to keep your eye out, that if you're a Chapman here at Dodge, you want to come work in the Gold Room, we'll end up posting that up on the Chapman job boards, and you can apply and get interviewed.
Yeah, we also have students working in our stages, helping do stage checkouts and returns there. And the TV control room and TV stage, I'm regularly hiring students to support classes, as well as actually do the installs. We regularly, whenever we get a new piece of equipment, we usually have students involved in the first round training process where they're going to help us install it, and they're going to get amazing experience doing that. Our success story from that is we actually had a student who helped build our switcher when we got a new one a few years ago. He was really interested in technology, graduated from here, went to work for NEP, who makes big trucks. He is now one of the engineers on Sunday Night Football, doing the largest TV broadcast in America weekly. And he is 3 years out of Chapman, just based on kind of the experience he got both in the classroom and outside of it. So we do hire student workers. It helps keep this place run. It also gives you guys experience outside the classroom.
Absolutely. And for anyone that is interested in student jobs, Dodge has plenty. There are opportunities, like we said, in the Gold Room, in our prop house, in our construction area, we have admissions, we have stage support, we have all sorts of opportunities, and you can even get a student job outside of Dodge as well. But if you did want to stay within Dodge, Career Center, all sorts of opportunities for you to work within your school. And it does kind of help as well with collaboration. You'll meet people that you might not have normally met and get to chat with them. All right, we have just 5 minutes left. I am out of questions in the chat. If anyone else wants to ask anything else, please feel free to pop it in. Or Dave or Zach, if you want to add anything else for our students, please feel free.
Yeah, I would just say from a tech side, so I was in your seat like 20 years ago when I was going to be a high school student. I will tell you one thing that I wish I knew earlier is the best question or the best answer I can give is I don't know. There's a lot of times we're going to a big situation, you get imposter syndrome where you feel like you don't really belong. And that's a hard thing to work through. And you're definitely going to work through it here. And there's some hesitation to say, I don't know, and ask the question. If you don't know it, just say, I don't know. We never look down or foo-foo you for that. When you say, I don't know, you're going to get the right answer and you're going to be even smarter than the people who are hiding. So I always encourage students, don't be apologetic when you ask a question. Don't feel like an idiot when you ask a question. You are here to ask questions. And one of the best things you can say is, I don't know. And that's fine. That's where learning can really happen.
I agree completely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dave. Let's see. I think someone is already answering this, but I'm just going to throw it out to you guys. Are there opportunities or can students take the opportunity to film projects elsewhere? Like if they would like to take the equipment out of state or something of that nature, are they allowed to do so? Is that common?
Yeah, actually it is surprisingly common. Again, sort of mentioned before, the community voices projects, a lot of those end up filming outside of what do you call it, the Dodge sphere. There are travel courses. I know that they've gone to like other countries to film projects. They've done partnerships with film schools in other countries and gone there and filmed with those students. So our students and their students get together, film something. There is a lot of opportunity for travel just at Dodge at Chapman in general, not just film production traveling, but study abroad courses and programs like that. I know when I was a student here, I spent a whole semester in Greece. It was one of the best experiences of my life. So I very much encourage students, if you can afford it, if you can manage it, and there's a lot of help here as far as the financial side of it. Going abroad is a wonderful experience to further and expand your education.
Yeah, it's good to go abroad. I'll also say though, when you are looking at that creative process of telling your story and finding locations to shoot, Southern California is an amazing spot with a ton of diversity. So if you need a beach to record something at, it's 20 minutes that way. If you need mountains to record something at, it's 40 minutes that way. If you need a barren desert and sand dunes, it's an hour that way. Plus the city of Orange itself is actually a historic zone. So if you're looking for houses from the 1940s, we have them. You're looking for a downtown area, we have those too. Looking for modern high rises, we have that as well. So you can find a lot of stuff here. In fact, even the building behind me, Memorial Hall, has been used in a lot of movies. So you would be amazed how often that building shows up. And that's Hollywood coming here because we have just so much diversity of locations.
You're absolutely right. Hollywood comes to us. It's true. We have things that are filmed in the Chapman, in the Orange Circle right outside of Chapman all the time that aren't even anything to do with Dodge. So we encourage all the filmmakers to come our way. Thank you guys so much. It has been such a pleasure getting all of this information. I know our students were very excited. This was a very popular session, so we really appreciate all the clarification on all the equipment and facilities. Thank you to our tech wizards, Dave and Zach. If any of you didn't get a question answered or think of anything afterwards, please feel free to email our admissions office. That is dodgeadmit@chapman.edu. And those of you who haven't come and toured and checked out all of our facilities and our community, please reach out to us and register for a tour. We do offer both virtual tours and in-person tours, and we would love to show you around.
And feel free to say hi if you're on a tour. Both Zach and I
Yeah.
are actually a part of the tour. We'll take you past our offices. So feel free to come and say hi.
Absolutely. Please wave at them. Thank you all so much for joining us today. It's been wonderful. I hope you all have a wonderful and safe night, and we'll talk to everyone soon.